Welcome to the Pop Tower Podcast with your host, the man behind the myth, Peter Dawson, and the soulful Lordy, James Bullock.
It's episode 84 of the Pop Tower Podcast. I am Peter W. Dawson.
And I am James Bullock.
And we're going to do something a bit different this time because probably one of the most shocking things we've heard all year, and that is saying something.
Yeah, I mean, 2020, good grief.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this has just been a year of shockers, period.
Yeah, but apparently the great Chadwick Boseman had been suffering from cancer for 4+ years.
Yeah.
And then quietly passed away just a bit over a week ago as of this recording.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is an actor we've talked about a fair bit on the show because he was a major part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was even in one of the more recent movies we talked about, although in a pretty small role. I don't even know if we mentioned him much in that review.
Yeah, I know we didn't because one reason because we didn't really want to spoil it.
Yeah. Yeah, because his character has a small but pivotal role in that film.
Right. And to really go into detail about it would be a big spoiler to the overall movie, so we didn't really talk about him too much. But I know we'll definitely give him his props for it in this one.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, he was pretty good in that.
Yeah.
Again, small but pivotal role.
Right.
Always important. But, I was looking at... So we were kind of looking to just do a retrospective on his career, because this is... I don't know if I want to say this, but I'll go for this first. To me, Chadwick Boseman is very much this generation's Denzel Washington or Sidney Poitier.
Mm.
Arguably one of the greatest African-American actors of his generation, and I think, unfortunately, had he not passed, was almost guaranteed to win an Academy Award at some point.
Oh, yeah. No, he was definitely setting a standard that was going to be that was hopefully going to be tried to be topped by future actors and actresses. Like, he definitely, as you said, he was one of those guys that stood out not just because of the fact that he's an African American that's getting a lot of good roles, but he was so good that he stood out amongst everyone else, and he became a standard bearer for the African American community in that regard. That, like you said, one of the biggest things is Denzel. Like, for us, for African Americans, like, you cannot argue against Denzel. No matter if you don't agree with some of his choices, you don't agree that he's the most versatile actor. Denzel does Denzel so well that our community has embraced him as that, and like nobody else. You do not dare talk bad about Denzel Washington. And Chad was going to be the same way. And I think, and it's amazing because he actually has taken a step even further, like in the same way as you said with Sidney Poitier, where he is so respected amongst not only his peers but also people who have enjoyed his movies, that he's going to be challenged by others as a great actor, and a lot of people are going to defend him because of a lot of the roles that he played in the last few years, excellently, mind you.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, he's one of those actors who came up from relative obscurity almost overnight to become one of the best actors of his generation.
Yeah, because I was watching videos in preparation for this, just to see like little things I'd never seen before, or roles that he played in, smaller roles, and shows. I'm like, I had no idea some of the shows that he played in before. Like you said, just like random characters in soap operas and smaller TV shows, and even TV shows we've talked about in the past. Like, you would not expect that character to become the person that he's become as an actor. 100%. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's like, cause it's funny too, because like he's one of those dudes. When you look back at his early career, he almost feels like he was destined for greatness.
Yeah. Like he always had an air about him.
Like, I kind of made this observation when I was reading about his background. Is he's almost kind of like not to compare him to a fictional film character, but much like Adonis Creed, Felicia Rashad helped lift him up. Not to the same degree, I imagine.
Right. Oh man, that's
and
great.
like it's not, it wasn't entirely coincidental that I brought up Denzel Washington there too, because Denzel did help raise money for young actors. I believe they were mostly African American. Yeah.
Yes,
Wasn't
yes,
it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Because Felicia Rashad was one of the teachers, and then she in turn got in touch with her acting friends, including Denzel, to help raise funds to get people trained at, like, what was it, Oxford?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. Like I just remember hearing that story in a news report not so long ago. And from there they did, because didn't they do? It was like a play or something, and Denzel and Felicia Rashad helped raise money for that, and then that in turn got him into Oxford, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And then because he'd been doing acting roles since the early 2000s, mostly on TV. Like, no shock, he was on All My Children, because, you know...
Yeah, just one-note roles, nothing that
Yeah.
you see him consistently on a television show.
Well, that was the thing, because, like, he was on a recurring role in Lincoln Heights, which I
Right.
freely admit I've never watched. And then, like, probably the first thing I saw him on, which I do not remember, I'll freely admit that too, he had a role in an episode of Castle, which I do remember watching, but I do not remember him in it, and I feel bad about that.
That was the thing, like, when I looked at I was looking at his credits, he said I had to go back and look for, like, Castle and Justified, and I was like, I did not remember him even being in these shows.
No, I think I vaguely remember his character from Fringe,
Right, yeah.
but, like, I don't remember his appearance on Justified, and I love Justified.
Exactly, same here.
So it's like, oh man, I feel so bad that I don't remember any of these appearances.
That was the one that caught me the most, because it's like, oh my goodness, I've watched this entire series, and I cannot believe I did not remember.
No, I've watched all of Castle and I've watched all of Justified.
Right.
But then you look at his career, like his third film role, he plays frickin' Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
Because they did some movie called The Ernie Davis Story, The Express, and so he plays an actual historical football player in that story, but I never saw that one.
No, same here. No.
And I
the
don't think
first
I've ever seen... Sorry?
The first two on the list for films, I have never seen.
Well, the second one makes a big deal out of the fact that Billy Zane's in it.
Oh, man.
Which, I mean, don't disrespect Billy Zane, he's a cool dude, but if he's your biggest get...
Especially in 2012.
Yeah. I mean, not for nothing, he did Blood Rain.
Yeah.
And it was a recurring Uncharmed.
But still.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But still.
Yeah, so... We never... So 42, I always thought was an interesting movie. I thought it was solid.
Yeah. No, it was a solid experience. It was, I think one of the biggest things with 42, because we talked off screen, off recording. I actually saw that after I saw Get On Up. So I kind of hit a really high note.
Oh yeah, because he's pretty good in both of those.
Right. And seeing like that elevation, but like the one thing I appreciated with 42, probably more than anything, was the fact that like, they were so adamant about not ignoring the fact that he, as an African American baseball player, had so much of a struggle. It wasn't like, oh my goodness, he went up to the plate, hit a home run, proved that he could do well, and everyone accepted him. Like, literally, they show footage of pitchers blatantly hitting him with a ball.
I know, it's pretty rough. Like,
right, and no punishment whatsoever. It's nothing. It's your fault for getting the ball's way. Like, they did not hold back, and that's one thing I thoroughly appreciated, that they did not try to patty cake, play around and to a certain extent muddy the Jackie Robinson story.
No, and like, here's the thing I really like about that movie, because while it is like it may initially come off awkward just how important Blanche Rickey is played up in that. He isn't played up like a typical white savior type of character.
Exactly.
Like, he still kind of is. I won't deny that. But do
it is done in a way that is still like it's not overshadowing the talents and what Jackie had done.
Yeah, well, in particular his character, because I mean, like, Blanche Rickey makes a point of like he narrates it, but he says no, he's the one that has to do this.
Right.
Like, they very nailed down. He gave him the opportunity, sure, because he was a white man in power, but Jackie has to prove that he has the dignity to overcome the sheer amount of nonsense that he's gonna have to deal with.
Right, exactly.
And like, I could, go off on a tangent about the few things I don't like about that movie, because it's one of those biopics that still annoys me in some respects.
Yeah.
Like only a biopic can, really.
Right, exactly.
Because to be fair, I mean,
We had
I've
to do
seen that
some.
in other
We
biopics.
had to do a little bit of revisionist history.
Yeah. But like, yeah, in particular, Chadwick Boseman was very good in that role.
Yeah.
I think it's the scene where, oh my god, and it's freaking Alan Tudyk, just being that incredibly racist Philly guy.
Yes.
I don't even remember his name, but like I do remember. I didn't know a lot about Jackie Robinson's career, but even I've seen that famous photo that they do, and I was just like, oh man, just the way that Boseman plays it, where he's both clearly hurt, and yet at the same time, just kind of looks at Tudyk's character with just like this special level of pity and contempt.
Yes, I was about to say just a sadness. Like, I feel so bad for you being this way, but I still don't like you.
I know. Actually, that reminds me. That film is one of the few examples I can think of from a major film that actually tries to understand how racism is hereditary.
Yes.
Because there's that scene where the dad is screaming racist stuff, and the kid's just like, I gotta make my dad proud.
Yes.
And I was like, oh man. Like 42 is a very good film. Like I said, I still, biopic. You gotta accept the biopic cheese.
Yeah, it's always gonna be those issues.
Okay. I've mentioned it twice. I'm just going to say, I can't remember who it is, but the kid who goes and listens to the train tracks.
Oh man, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then it turns out he's a famous player himself. I mean, I thought it was very played up for the cheese factor to begin with.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, but it was this person the whole time.
Oh, whole time.
I'm like,
oh man, really?
I know. Like, I'm not going to deny, Jackie Robinson, one of the most influential people in the history of sports. So, and at the time, people knew it was a big deal, but it's like, come on. I don't know. Maybe it's just how they presented it.
Yeah, it's the convenience of it all,
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But hey, you like to have fun with history. I remember somebody saying that the plot of the Titanic would be too absurd for an actual Hollywood screenwriter. So, reality can sometimes be stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was in after 42, like, we're just kind of going to go through his career.
Yeah.
And you can probably guess which role in particular we're going to focus on a lot.
Yeah.
But Draft Day, I don't remember his character.
No, not at all. No.
He was in Draft Day, though, which was a very watchable movie.
Yeah.
That's the best I could say about it. I don't know about you. All right, so, yeah, you said you first saw him in Get On Up. Do you want to take the lead on that film?
No, I mean, it was, I'm a big James Brown fan, and I actually saw it with my parents, so that was really a cool experience.
Oh, nice.
And, yeah, and watching it, this was, once again, the first time I knowledgeably found out about Chadwick. And I was just amazed how not only he embodied the spirit of James Brown, but the mannerisms. The fact that he picked up so well on James Brown's, especially in his adult years, his very, very different way of talking. That's the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And watching him evolve, and the way that they did it is really non-linear, which is a very hard thing to grasp sometimes, especially if you don't know about the history of the character that they're presenting. So there are a lot of moments that you see and understand exactly why James Brown became such a broken individual as he got older, and the stress and the hurt that was put on him by his parents, and what he tried to do to try to make himself feel like the man that he felt he needed to be to honor the people that really weren't necessarily honoring him as a child. And seeing Chadwick not only just embody that role so well, embody that pain so well, And then to elevate it when we hear about James Brown being the hardest working man in show business, and you see exactly what they mean. They mean this guy was pushing not only himself, but everybody around him. He was so blunt. Like, I love the fact that one of his best friends tries to stand up when he has the opportunity to become a star, and James is like, no, you're not good enough. That's just a straight up, no, you are not good enough. I've seen you work. You're always going to be second fiddle because you don't have the work ethic of the lead. And seeing like Chadwick just being able to present that so well, and then to top it off, the moves, the steps. If you watch old James Brown footage of him dancing, Chadwick had it down. Like, it is amazing to think that this man went so far above and beyond to try to learn to be this character, to the point that he actually learned how to dance like him, and thankfully had the talent to do so, because it was a video. I forgot exactly who else he was trying to teach. He actually was trying to teach somebody else the James Brown steps, and the whole video, the guy never got it. Like, no matter how good he was, he never could get it.
I mean, it is hard to do.
No, it's incredibly hard. That's just a testament to the talent, because for you to work that hard and to be able to get something down to that degree, it was amazing. Like, that's one of my favorite biopics. Not only because, like I said, I'm a James Brown fan, but also, especially now, like, looking back, like, wow, I did not realize just how talented this guy was. And then after that, getting to see 42, and it's like, okay, you know what, we are in the presence of greatness right now, and he's got only forward momentum right now. And I just didn't realize how much bigger it was going to get.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then another movie happened, and then
I know, because like I'm just looking at his IMDb again. Yeah, he didn't do anything in 2015, but he was probably prepping for. Well, you know, he was probably filming the one movie that came out that in early 2016 that nobody likes to talk about because wow, what the hell? You know what? Let's quickly touch on it. So, Gods of Egypt was a thing, which I think featured 2 actual Egyptians.
Yes.
Oh man, I'd call that peak whitewashing, but there were other races in there.
Yeah.
Almost none of them Egyptian, which is real awkward.
Yeah, very much so.
My favorite is still Gerard Butler as an Egyptian god. I'm like, no.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Oh man, that movie. Oh,
yeah.
sweet Jesus, this movie.
And he plays the classic role you would expect of a pretty solid African-American actor in a film written by people who really aren't thinking. He's a cool African-American supporting character who ultimately dies.
Yes, that's right. That's your whole goal.
Like, you know what that made me think of almost immediately?
What?
X-Men Origins Wolverine with Wrath.
Oh, man, yes.
What's his nuts from the Black Eyed Peas?
Yes. Oh, Will.i.am, yes.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, Boseman's better actor than Will.i.am. But
yeah. But still,
just
like, we had to use the trope.
You know, they're introduced, they're played up as important, they help in one respect, and then they get jobbed out to the villain.
Yes.
That is essentially, yeah. Anyway, we spent too much time talking about Gods of Egypt. It's time to talk about our steak dinner. The reason probably most people know who Chadwick Boseman is.
Exactly.
But for very good reason, because starting in Captain America Civil War, Chadwick Boseman was our Black Panther.
Yes.
T'Challa.
That's when we got the guarantee. Like, we knew after, of course, there had been confirmation that he was going to be in it. He was going to be the Black Panther. But it was like that big running, oh, who's going to be the Black Panther? And ironically enough, like a big name at the time was Michael B. Jordan.
Yep.
So it's really interesting considering what would happen next.
Oh, I know, right? But I need to talk about him in Civil War because...
Yes.
Okay, I love Civil War. That is still one of my favorite MCU movies.
No, I don't blame you. You know, it's an awesome movie.
Yeah, no, it's still probably in my top 5.
Yeah.
And that top 5 is hard to judge, but that one and Winter Soldier are usually always in the top 5, and then probably Endgame, if nothing else, for the final third of the film.
Oh my goodness, yes.
You know what I mean? But yeah, in particular, Civil War. We got introduced to T'Challa, Black Panther, like when he wasn't originally the Black Panther too, which is kind of the weird thing they had to explain later on because, like, I don't know.
We kind of had to do a time jump a little bit.
Yeah, well, that film is confusing in general because it's like we still never got a good explanation for how he knew about Spider-Man, Peter Parker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of one of the things I really wish they would have gone back to retcon in their own film. But that's neither here nor there. We need to talk about his performance. So he's introduced very early on as just kind of like this scowly but, seemingly gentle princely character that Black Widow in particular chats up.
Yes.
She seems to have a quiet respect for him, especially because she in particular sees what happens. Because like he's there for a couple scenes. It's like, okay, he's here to with his dad to talk about the recent disaster that happened, and then she watches him cradling his dead father.
Yes.
So like this is always something that I always thought was very well done with the Black Widow character. Just for a moment is, well, having trouble with her own emotions, she could actually show a good level of empathy, even despite also being a very cold person.
Yes.
Which is but again, we don't want to dwell on this too much because
I know.
like it was a very good use for her character, and then in turn, T'Challa, understandably, goes through a lot of emotions, and the quiet rage Boseman does in the scene. Where he's talking very seriously, he's talking very curtly, and there's like, don't bother, I'll kill him myself.
Yes.
I cannot do justice to that line delivery.
Oh my goodness, it was so wonderful. Like that, when you watch it, like the sensations, you can feel the hair stay on the back of your neck. Like you just feel everything about him right then and there.
Yeah, like. He's got a few lines in this film in particular, and one other scene in particular, which I really would need to praise later on. You can probably know which one, but yeah, like that early bit is like when you're like, if you weren't 100% sold on that before, because he like I said, he was scowling and he was like, "Dad, no," and like of course, it's really hard not to do a good emotional "no, you're dead" thing,
right?
Because even if the editing isn't, or like even if your performance isn't great, the editing is usually pretty good at covering for that in one of those scenes. But yeah, like between that quiet rage and then later on when he's fighting and all he has to do, like I'm assuming he wasn't in the suit the whole time, spoilers for movie making, but if the person's face is fully covered, it's usually just the stunt man.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But even his voiceover bit where he's fighting Hawkeye, he's like, we haven't met before. I'm Clint. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's just the sheer level of I don't have time for this bullshit.
Small talk is not in my forte right now. Like I have to go.
100%.
I have much more important things to do right now.
I was curious though. Was it the I'll kill him myself that sold you on him? Or
yeah,
was
I killed myself.
that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think that was when like 100%. Okay. Yeah. No, we got something good with this guy. Like it's a good line in general. But he nails it perfectly.
He did it so well. Like, you just felt everything about his situation at that time.
Oh, 100%.
Hey, no, he just embodied it so well. In that simple phrase that, like you said, it should be so cliche. Like, you hear they should roll your eyes.
Yep.
But he did it. Oh, man.
I think there's that other bit, too, when they're gearing up for the airport fight. He's like, move. Oh, you will be moved.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of slips in diplomatically. As much as that might be entertaining to watch, I think I'll just talk to her. Because I think it's like, I would actually love to see one of my badass bodyguards do this. But no.
No.
I'm just gonna find out what the hell's going on. Oh man, yeah. And then I guess we could probably just talk about the ending scene.
Oh, yeah.
With him and Zemo. Because holy hell.
Yeah.
The scene where Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa confronts Baron Zemo as played by Daniel Bruhl.
Yes.
That is an Oscar-worthy scene.
It really is.
Like
it does not get enough praise.
That is one of the best scenes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's up there with Yondu's funeral and the conversation about family.
Yes.
Because even if you don't like other parts of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2,
Yeah.
That particular relationship, when you realize, okay, this is about abusive parents, and it really captures in that moment all the feelings you have for a parent who clearly abused the hell out of you,
Yes.
but still loved you in their own way. Which is, like, in particular, Civil War, this scene where two characters, well, they say a bit. I don't want to say they say very little, but there's a lot of quiet understanding in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's unclear if he fully understood what the hell Zemo was doing on his phone right before he confronts him in that bit.
Yeah.
And then they share some words back and forth, and just the general level of mutual understanding as T'Challa decides, you know what, I wanted to kill this man. This is a man who was driven by revenge as well. Maybe just killing him isn't the right path to take.
Right.
And like
especially in honoring his father, which we figure out, especially when we see like in Black Panther. To me, it adds a bigger layer to even that feeling of how we see the honoring of their own.
Like that whole performance right there is just very good.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's something I will always point to if people ever doubt, like, oh yeah, the Marvel movies, they don't have the acting quality. I mean, they got
oh my goodness,
actors,
yes,
but...
like a lot of you can refute that argument so much more now than you could a decade ago.
Oh,
because of so many scenes like what we have here. We got so many great scenes in the MCU now in the last few movies that are just built on character development and just pure, genuine emotion that you would not get 10, 15 years ago from a superhero movie.
It's crazy, too, because, like, well, I guess Brule was kind of important, but, like, you know, T'Challa, while important in the movie, was not meant to be, like, a main character.
It wasn't a draw point originally.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't that guy that you would think, oh, it's just cool to finally have the Black Panther in an MCU movie. But the performance and what we got out of it just established, as you said, this is a character that I want to see more of. And thankfully we got a feature.
Yeah, and, like, it was really well done. And then, I don't know if there's much else to say with this film.
No.
Because, I mean, we could gush about the film in general, but that wouldn't be talking about him. And
I know.
do want to keep this mostly on Boseman. I know we meandered a bit with other things, but have you seen Message from the King?
Yeah, that is a disgrace.
I still think he's pretty good in it, for the record.
I thought he was good in it, but I just hated the character.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
No, he was a situation where he definitely made chicken salad out of a situation, but yeah, no, he did fine. I had no problem with him. I just hated a lot of what the movie was just even about.
Well, yeah, it's a really bad revenge thriller.
Yeah, it was just really, really just bad.
Yeah, and also Luke Evans as a doctor.
Yeah, oh my goodness, yes.
I don't buy it. I'm just saying. He never struck doctor to me, but yeah, I don't know if we want to spend too much time on that. The only reason it's even worth being interested in is he was an executive producer.
Yeah, I had no idea until, researching and figuring out what we were talking about today and just seeing what we were talking, and had no idea, especially that and the next movie that he worked on.
Oh, you never saw Marshall?
No, I saw Marshall, but I didn't know he was a co-producer.
Oh, yeah. No, that makes sense, because, I mean, once an actor gets to a certain point of prestige, it becomes they tend to become producers more often, especially in their own works. Like, Tom Hanks is frequently a producer in his own films.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Which is fair. And I wonder if but of course, it's also worth noting, especially with Message from the King, sometimes actors sign on to projects and then stuff changes, but they're still attached as EPs. Even if the thing they got attached in the first place for.
Yeah.
Just to give them some potential benefit of the doubt, because like we said, without getting too much into it, the plot of Message from the King is not good.
No, it's not.
Like, it's a well-acted, pretty terrible revenge thriller.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's one of those situations where they have a script, they have material, and no matter how good the actors are, they really can't overcome it.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's like with Get On Up, it was probably at best going to be an average biopic, and then Boseman really stepped it up. And then
he elevated it, most definitely.
And I mean, it probably helped that they decided to go non-linear, because that could be a detriment with his biopics too. So I'll also give him some credit for that. But like 100%, Bozeman elevated Gannon up as well.
Yes.
And then so Marshall is the story of Thurgood Marshall. It was very much. Was he actually a justice of the Supreme Court?
Yeah, his first African American Supreme Court justice.
First? Was he the first?
He is the first. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Because he was succeeded by Clarence Thomas, who's of course also African American, and I just can never remember like if he was because I know he didn't he get appointed in like the 60s.
Yes.
I'm going on this from memory.
Yeah.
Because I'm not American.
Right.
And I'm worried if I click on the Wikipedia page, it's just going to tell me like 12 things that aren't what I want.
Right, that's what you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know he was like probably the most famous thing I know him from as a non-American is I know he was involved in Brown versus the Board of Education.
Yes.
Which I believe is, if I'm remembering right, that's one of the major elements for civil rights for desegregation of schools.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. As a non-American, I think I did pretty well on that.
No, you did very well. You know your African American and American history.
To a degree.
To a degree.
Yeah, well, it's funny though, because
it's better than most Americans right now.
Because the movie touches on one of his first cases. I don't remember the name of the case covered in the movie now.
Daggone Connecticut versus what? Oh man, I know it's Connecticut versus crap. Oh yeah, Spell. Yeah, Connecticut versus Spell. Yeah, that's right. Joseph
right, because it's an African American accused of sexually assaulting a wealthy white woman, which I'm like, oh yeah, I can see how this was an important case in his career. Because he was still like, when did this happen?
It was in the 40s.
Right, so he wasn't a Supreme Court justice yet.
No.
Sorry, it's been a couple years since I saw it too, so now I'm like blanking.
Oh no, the same here. You know, it's just one of those things. Like it's a lot. It's a lot to take in because I mean they cover a lot in the movie as well, especially when it comes to being a biopic, of course. But it's a lot of coverage in terms of years during the whole presentation.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they did a fairly good job. Like he once again does a really good job. I just have like with you, just a few nitpicks, but that has less to do with him, less to do with Chadwick, and more to do with just like general presentation and really in general just the casting, because there are certain portions that don't really fit because of Chadwick being a darker African American compared to Thurgood Marshall, who's pretty light skinned. And I think it kind of loses some of the edge when certain moments happen, like Thurgood drinking from a whites only water fountain, you know, that kind of stuff. He could do it a lot easier as a light skinned African American than he could as a person of Chadwick's complexion. So like that to me should have been like a bigger deal in the movie, but like you know you can only do so much, you know, can only eat so much. But as a performance. Once again, phenomenal. Like, he made Thurgood look like a daggone G. Like, I did not expect him to make Thurgood look that strong. Like, I was expecting Thurgood to be, like, strong in the sense of just like, okay, I know the law, I know how to carry myself. No, he had Thurgood looking like he could slap somebody down if he got mad with him.
I hear you.
Yeah, no, it's really good. No, I definitely appreciated it. And, once again, like, Chadwick became one of the kings of the African American biopics, and this was another good reason why.
No, 100%. I mean, again, I think I don't know. I want to say if he necessarily elevated the material, but I just because it was directed by Reginald Hudlin, who on the one hand has done some pretty good writing in the past, but I've never thought of him as a great director.
Exactly.
And like, from what I remember, the direction of this film was fine. But it wasn't like, I don't know, you compare it to like the more crisp, well done stuff of like the, I'm trying to think of who to compare him to. Just like the more crisp direction, and he's not like the truly experimental like Scorsese and company, of course.
Yeah.
But he's not as crisp as some of the more less experimental but still very solid directors are. So it's like he's just very adequate. And I'm just thinking about, it's like, thinking about that water fountain scene, it's like, you know, I feel like he could have done something interesting with the direction of the scene.
Exactly.
But he didn't.
Like several missed opportunities. That was the thing. it's one of those things like you don't know for sure if he had it in him as a director to maybe present it to the best of what it could have been. But from the perspective of like with Chadwick, like I cannot take away from the fact that he did such a great job once again.
Oh, 100%.
Even with some of like, as we noticed, some of the flaws when it came to the writing and the directing.
Yeah. We didn't really touch on the writing, but real life relatives of people featured in the story flat out said, "Yeah, this isn't entirely accurate."
Yeah, exactly.
Which, no shock. Biopics, it's hard to be accurate. Sometimes you have to be spiritually accurate, if not actually accurate.
Exactly.
Which sounds like another way of saying that sounds like lying with extra steps.
Right.
No, but it's a very good performance, and it was like at this point, like, 'cause I mean, not to sound cynical, but he was never going to get nominated for playing T'Challa.
Oh
right?
no! And it's not even the point of like how good of an actor he is playing this character. It's just the stigma of superhero movies in general. Like,
100%.
I mean, you think about it, like how crazy we were thinking that was it Infinity War or Endgame that got the nomination?
No, it was Black Panther.
Oh, what's Black Panther? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we were actually trying to make the argument of what we thought would have been more applicable for it. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, no matter how good you are, no matter how good the movie is, no matter how, to a certain extent, genre breaking it is, it's still got that stigma. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. Which is a damn shame because, like I said, damn good movie.
Oh yeah.
And like, it felt insane to me that it would be nominated for Best Picture, but nobody would be nominated for acting.
Yeah, that made no sense.
Like, it's not the first time that's happened, because, like, I remember infamously there was, what was it, My Fair Lady? Audrey Hepburn didn't get nominated despite being the lead, but that was more about studio politics.
Right.
Which is a great example of how studio politics can screw someone over. Although, of course, I still would have preferred Julie Andrews, who did win, winning. Anyway. And that's kind of the bummer of the whole thing is we never got him in that right place, right time, right, typically biopic, because biopics tend to get you nominated a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, what if 2 of Denzel's nominations were for historic figures, because he did
yep.
Malcolm X and The Hurricane.
Yes.
And I really liked him as The Hurricane, even though that film was also hilariously inaccurate.
Yeah.
There's a pattern here with biopics. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It really is.
But he won for Training Day, which is a fantastic movie.
Right. If you're gonna go with any of them, like, I'm not mad that was the one for him.
I would have preferred Hurricane, but I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, I would have been fine with X or Hurricane.
Yeah, X definitely was a good one because he's really good in X.
Oh my goodness! Like, literally, we had to watch that in school. Like, we literally, yes, we literally had a predominantly African American school, and we literally had that for school. Like, for 2 days, we had to watch that movie, and it was so fun. But I think the teachers didn't realize how rough it was. So,
yeah.
Oh man, they wish they could have had a censored version. But still.
Well, what's funny is we didn't watch that because we didn't cover too much of the civil rights movement, being Canada.
Right.
But we covered extensively the Hurricane because Lesra Martin is still active in this province.
Wow.
So, like, one of the things that kind of became common was, okay, we'll have him come and be a speaker, but people need to appreciate who the heck he is.
Oh man, that's cool. That is really cool.
Right? So I was like, that was an interesting bit of, like, just the American civil rights we got in Canada, just because of, coincidence of location and stuff.
Man, that is really cool though.
Yep. Hey, that movie, that plot does include magical Canadians.
I know.
They have to come from somewhere. I think they actually call it in the movie plot Canadian Angels.
Wow.
a bit much, folks, but you know what? Fine.
Oh, that is crazy.
Anyway, let's talk about Black Panther the movie.
Yes.
Which is a very good movie.
Oh my, wonderful movie.
The only reason I go back and forth on top 5 is just because I'm like, there's a lot of other ones I like about the same, but like, it's still got to be in the top contendership, right?
Oh, very much so. Like, to this day, I still look at it and I'm in awe. Like, the biggest flaw I had, and I know we talked about when we reviewed it, was the final fight scene because it was so dark.
I know, and it's like, once again, mirror like most of the problems you have with it are because of the continuity in the greater universe. Like, as a standalone film, it's very good.
Oh yes, it is wonderful. Like that's one of the movies where I look at it and say, you know what, you don't have to be a fan of superhero movies to enjoy it.
You really don't. I mean,
really,
the superhero stuff is... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, finish yours.
Yeah, it's like, well, there's definitely superhero elements. It almost hits that Dark Knight level where the superhero elements almost feel incidental.
Right. Yeah, that was one thing. Like I was thinking about too, is the fact that not only because even with the fact that we see him in his first appearance in Civil War, it still feels like the standalone movie where you're really getting the origin story and everything else, and it feels that a lot of it doesn't necessarily hinge on the idea that this is a part of a greater universe that is full of superheroes in the MCU. It's just something that is isolated without being really isolated. Like, I love the fact that they did such a contained experience that didn't insult your intelligence when it came to the overall MCU, while still being grounded in a lot of ways. As absurd as some of the stuff is, it's still a really grounded film where you look at the reasoning behind some of the characters' actions, especially when it comes to father figures. Like, I love the implementation of father figures and how much of a role it plays in the pretty much entire mindset of a growing person, because we see just how different T'Challa is from what would become his cousin, his long-lost cousin, because of the roles that their fathers had in their lives. Like, it's just incredible.
Oh, I know, because that film does a really good job with the whole father figure aspect, and I think one of my favorite, there's a couple of really good scenes, because there's the Michael B. Jordan scene with his father.
Mm-hmm.
That's really well done.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
You know, I can't praise that scene enough. And then there was a really good scene between T'Challa and all his ancestors.
Yes.
which is a great reflection on the initial one, where he's just happy to see them all.
Yeah.
And then he has a scene with them later, and he calls them out. You know, he was the first time he saw them, he was just so happy to see them. The second time, he's like, "Yeah, you guys screwed up."
Yeah.
Like, yo, I still love y'all, but what the hell?
Yeah. You knew what you were doing. You knew what kind of effect it would have.
Oh my god!
And this is what you went with. Like, oh man.
Yeah, it's like, oh, man, just such good stuff with the whole inherit. Like, that's got to be one of the best movies for inheriting a legacy I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, hands down.
And the fact that it involves a man with claws who also at one point flips over a car.
Yeah.
Just the icing on the cake.
And don't forget poses right in front of it too.
Yeah. And that one bit of dialogue I will always kind of mock the film for, just because it sounds like such a video game moment. It's like, your suit's fully charged. Unleash the energy. You know what I mean? Like, that absolutely sounds like a video game tutorial telling you how to do a super attack.
You know,
I know why it's there, but the way, in particular, the way it was said.
Yeah, no. I mean, if someone is right now playing Marvel's Avengers, like, that just is perfect reflection of that.
Oh, 100%, right? Like again, I love this movie, but you gotta be able to make.
Oh yeah,
sometimes
you
do roast
moments,
the ones
like...
you love.
No, I mean, we talked about Black Panther in full with that one. I think didn't we do the whole episode was that one? Was this Black Panther that whole episode?
I don't think so, but I think it was 40 minutes.
Okay. I know Infinity War had a whole episode.
The Infinity War was damn near by itself. Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's a shame because he wasn't in that much.
No, and that was a thing. I know we talked about that. I guess we'll just go on to that. I don't know, because we both have said enough. We love Black Panther. We love that movie.
Yeah, we just had to in particular look at Black Panther again because that was such a defining role for him.
Right,
I mean,
that was the one that changed the entire not only career but dynamic. Because
more than anything, because I mean, we'd seen him in Civil War. He was great in Civil War. I thought he was very underrated in Civil War.
Yes.
And then we got Black Panther, and we were like, it's gonna maybe make $500 million, whatever. It makes over $1 billion. Yeah. Is one of the best movies in the franchise. I'm just like, come on, guys. But yeah, and then unfortunately in Infinity War, man, You think if they knew how much of a hit Black Panther was going to be, they would have paced it differently?
Oh my goodness, he would have had so much more.
100%, right?
Okay, he had. We definitely. I appreciate the fact he had his moment on the battlefield almost at the end of the movie. I appreciate that. But could you imagine, like, if they knew the success of Black Panther beforehand, how much more we would have seen him in the middle of everything? Like, he would have been a true. He would have been on the poster for one. And like front and center,
Yeah.
They would have had him. They might have changed it to Avengers featuring Black Panther, Infinity War.
No, I know, right? Like they would have at least had him like sliding underneath, like
Yeah.
a foot sweep, much like someone will slide into your DMs.
Yeah. Oh,
no, 100%.
man.
And like, yeah, you of course you famously you dropped the motherfucker.
Yeah.
During, I believe it.
Yeah. The moment that happened, I yelled it because I was so like it just shocked me. I had no idea, and it's crazy because as we know, like now, it makes a lot more sense as to why they had to eliminate him from leading up to Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never thought that. I thought it was just for the emotional reason. I did not necessarily know because once again I'm kind of assuming on this, but I mean considering how we've seen him in the way he was, especially with Endgame too, it wasn't like he had that much in Endgame, so it just makes me kind of further realize that maybe he wasn't in the best of shape coming out of Infinity War, especially coming off of Black Panther, because that had to have been one of the most taxing experiences of his entire life up to that point.
Oh yeah.
So we come into Infinity War. He has a good shining moment. Then he goes out, and then he comes in really late in Endgame. And I just have to believe that more than likely that was because of his health. And not knowing then, like I'm thinking it's just like, okay, you gave me Black Panther, and now you've taken it away from me. You're dirty. You're dirty for this.
I know. Like that's insane. That like he'd been suffering from this since what 2017, 2016.
Right.
Like basically since he became Black Panther.
Yeah, and on a personal note, I mean, my aunt, who's my dad's sister, she passed away from colon cancer, and she only lived for a year after being diagnosed with stage 3.
Oh man.
Like, to imagine having the same diagnosis as Chadwick, doing all of this, and living with stage 3 colon cancer for 4 years, that just blew my mind. Like, that is amazing. Like, a testament to his willpower.
It's not even that. It's not even that he was dealing with that for 4 years, and he was making movies that required a great amount of physical demand.
Mm-hmm.
He was also going around and like seeing so many people.
Yeah,
you know,
we've seen footage. Like, you see footage of him now from interviews and not knowing exactly why he was so emotional when he talked about people that he was interacting with. You just thought because he's a good human being, too. And that's one of the main reasons why. But he stuck his hand out to people, especially children, that were suffering from cancer because he, too, understood exactly what they were going through. And that is amazing to think that somebody can be that strong in the face of pretty much sheer death. And he is trying his best to help someone else when he can barely help himself in that regard.
Yeah, and like, I just want to speak for a moment to his character, because like, it's fitting that one of his first major film roles was opposite Harrison Ford, because, well, Harrison Ford's, of course, a very flawed man. Like, one of the things I always kind of appreciated about him is he's a fairly private person.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't try to exploit his family. He doesn't really try to...
exploit his fame.
Yeah. Like, it just wasn't his thing. And very much in the same way, Boseman, like, he'd been... Like, we only found out after he died that he'd been married.
Right. He literally just got married. Like...
Less than a year ago, yeah.
Yeah, I barely even knew... I knew that he had a girlfriend. I knew because of course, you've seen pictures and everything else. But, I mean, even her life is relatively private. When you look at... If you even try to look her up, there's not, like, that much information about her out there. Like, they stayed and understood, like, we can keep ourselves separate from the rest of the world when it comes to the fame and the glory and all that kind of stuff. And when we have to come out and do what we have to do, we can do that. But then once we're done with that, just step away and be you. Be yourself. Be the person that you were without the lights and the cameras and the fame. And to see them be so accepting of the idea of not letting fame pretty much like dictate your life, it's really a marvelous thing, especially coming into this generation, because it's not like he's that much older than us. So, like, he could be the narcissistic, social media driven individual like we see a lot of people now. Instead, he was very quiet, he was very peaceful, and from what we've seen from, interviews and people that knew him, he was a very genuine, good human being, both on screen and off screen.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like, this is one of those guys. I don't think, like, you could probably find some flaw if you work real hard.
Right. But I mean, you haven't heard that one story. Oh, he was a butthole to me. Like, I have not seen that one story. Like, the closest thing I saw, which was amazing because it still showed how good of a person he is, was a person on Twitter saying that, showing a picture of her getting a selfie with him, and she wrote the story of like how he literally told her, they told me not to take any pictures. Like, I can't stand here and take pictures with everyone. And when he walked away, she looked back at him, and he just so happened to look back at her at the same time and came back and took a selfie with her.
Yeah, it was just like, yeah, he was just trying to be fair. He wasn't trying to be a dick.
Right, exactly. Like, that's
like,
the worst story I found. And it's a story of a guy that had time, had time constraints. You can't be, trying to take pictures of everyone and still being nice enough. I got to go back and try to at least give this girl something special to remember me.
Yeah, I know. It's just, and I need to talk again about that big moment in Endgame.
Yeah.
Because it remains one of my favorite moments in cinema in the last 10 years. It probably will be for, like, if I'm 90 years old, here's hoping, and I'm writing a list of, like, my favorite cinematic moments, that's going to be on there.
Yeah.
The portal scene.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the portal scene. Oh, yeah.
So much gets communicated in that one look, where he comes out, with his crew, and he just looks Captain America in the eyes, and there's just, like, that quiet nod.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, he's so good. Like, this is a really random thing to compare it to, but it reminded me of Diana Rigg.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because Diana Rigg as an actress, has been very good at saying basically nothing and communicating a lot. Like, you see this especially in, like, Game of Thrones recently, but, like, going back earlier in her career, she's been very good at this in a lot of stuff. And, like, so I was thinking about that a couple of weeks ago, just like how good Diana Rigg is, and then I'm watching the portal scene again and I see that nod. I'm just like, God, that's like the same type of thing. It's just he's saying so much while not saying a goddamn thing.
Yeah, he's got it. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That and then once again going back to what we said before about just character development and just that whole feeling of really being happy that the fans are paying attention. Like. Seeing the interaction between Captain America and Black Panther at that time, if you didn't know about like the interaction between them in Civil War, it doesn't necessarily hit you in the same way.
No.
But knowing like, it's that reward for being a longtime fan, for watching the movies. And when you see that for you and when I saw it, it hit us differently because we know the interaction between the two. And seeing that moment, like you said, that's one of not only the best MCU moments I've seen, but that's one of the best movie moments I've seen probably ever. Like, it's just the subtlety of it. It's just absolutely marvelous.
100%. And I guess from there we talked about, we mentioned the Five Bloods and how we can't really talk about what happens in that movie.
Yeah, we just know that he's a figure in that movie, and the small time that he's on screen, he does a really good job. There's a very pivotal scene, I'm not going to spoil it at all, that is just remarkable. And still, and it's crazy because of what they're talking about is so prevalent and still relevant to this day. Like, right now, there's a scene in that movie featuring Chadwick that is absolutely marvelous. That, to me, it stood out as one of the key moments in the entire movie. And once again, if you had somebody that was less of an actor than him, he would have never gotten it over as well.
Yeah, like, I'm just looking at like his last final few roles here, and I'm just like, oh, man, I can't, because like I said, I really want him to like not only be nominated but win something.
Yeah.
And I'm going back and forth if he would actually get nominated Best Supporting Actor for The Five Bloods.
if there was a chance, like I would say yes, like that would be the one because
Yeah.
21 Bridges was okay. Once again it was
He was
him
not going to
doing-
get nominated for that.
no, it was once again him, doing a good job with something that was pretty average. But it's not a movie that's going to stand up. It's like, oh yeah, he's going to be best actor for this one. No, not at all. Like out of anything, maybe best supporting actor for The Five Bloods. I could see that happening.
Although he is a main lead in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
And that's going to be the iffy one right now because we don't know when it's coming out. So I know they pushed it back, in honor of his family and just making sure that, it doesn't feel like they're capitalizing on his death or anything.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I don't
but
know
it's still coming out before the end of the year, though.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. Yeah, so I'm intrigued to see how that turns out. And that would be it. Like that's crazy because that would be it.
And did you see who one of the producers is?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Denzel.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see how that goes. And it's a hell of a cast. Because did you see who the writer is?
Yeah, like I was really surprised. Once again, just researching and seeing what was on the doc and seeing looking all through his career. And when I looked at the movie, I was like, wow, this is a cast and a half. And then you look at who is working behind the scenes, and this should be something absolutely phenomenal. Like,
hopefully.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Like, I hate to say it, but if there's going to be deficiencies, it's probably going to be from George C. Wolfe.
Yeah.
Just because he's mostly a playwright type guy, right?
Yeah.
So transitioning from plays to film can be tricky. Because he's a Tony Award winner for direction. So
Right.
I like to think he's competent, but I mean, it's
a big change. It's a different game.
Yeah. Let's just hope it brings in the funk.
Yeah.
He did that, right?
I'm really excited to see how this pans out. I really am.
Okay, yeah. That joke did make sense. Good.
Yeah.
I said that without thinking. I was like, I'm pretty sure he did bring in the noise, bring in the funk. I know he did Angels in America, which is
he did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else we could say at this point. Like, he's one of those actors that was phenomenal, and it's just such a damn shame he left us too soon. Because that is a guy that had, I think, so much more to give.
Oh, very much so. Like he was just hitting a stride, which is amazing because we've gone through so many movies that he's been involved in that we've seen. We really saw his evolution and his growth and hitting a particular peak. And we just both assumed, anybody else has been watching him, that was the first peak. And even seeing, okay, for example, 21 Bridges. That was a dip. But that was more of a dip in the quality of the movie that he was in and less of a dip of his quality as an actor. We've seen, dips in quality when it comes to acting.
Yeah.
And, for him, it's one of those things, he was able to elevate the material by him just being a great actor. And we were going to see, we assumed that we were going to see a lot more peaks. And unfortunately, we won't. And that's...
No, that's sorry.
No. Like I said, that's the sad part.
Yeah, it's just, this is the guy, I think he still had so much more to give.
Yeah.
I know, maybe we're greedy for wanting more, but it's just...
I know, and I know that's coming from the fans in us, that you always wanted something more. We didn't get the ending that we wanted. Because, of course, he didn't live long enough to give us the ending that we wanted. And that was, him to be able to live old and gray. And, stop when he was like, okay, now I'm finally done. But it's even more, emphatic for us is that we want him to give more because we see how much he meant to the communities. We see how much he meant to really the world. Mm-hmm. And now we see, as we, see more and more of the stories from people that he's interacted with, or known for a long time, the people that he have grown to love him and vice versa. He had so much more to give beyond just movies. And for us as fans, that's what we were attached to. That's what we knew. And, for people that knew him personally, it seemed like he had so much more to give because he had so much love for so many people. And so many people loved him back. He was, from what we've seen, from what we've heard, A+ human being if there ever was one.
100%. Okay, let me close it on a. Let's call it a wishful note.
Okay,
What's
cool.
a role you really would have liked to see him play?
Whew. You know what? If they would have flipped it, it's weird. Like, I hate to have him, like, take Samuel L. Jackson's job. But I would love to see them do, like, a Nick Fury movie. But he would be Nick Fury.
Like a younger Nick Fury.
Yes.
That would have been interesting. It would probably come off as weird in the continuity of it all, but hey, what can you do? Sometimes actors play the same person.
Black Panther sure looks. I tell you, that kid that wasn't Nick Fury sure looks like Black Panther now. what was Nick Fury not telling us?
Yeah, I know, right? I too have discovered Wakanda. I was trying to think of a joke that wasn't going to come off really weird, and that's the best I had.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like, no, seriously though, you know, I would have liked to see him play. I don't know what the heck the plot of the movie would have been. I thought he might have been a pretty good Obama.
Oh man, I was trying to think like of a historical figure, and man, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, because like you know, some people it's always like, oh, this person should always play X, and like I think there was a joke for a long time, Will Smith should play Obama.
Nah.
I think they have similar ears for sure.
Yeah, that's about it, and skin tone, but that's about it. Like,
yeah,
there
like
is
a
reverence. There's a quiet reverence about Chadwick that really matches Obama. That would
and I think he could pull off the eyebrows better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like he probably would have needed prosthetic ears or something.
Like I think like the journey to him becoming president would have been a great story.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a great story. Like Chadwick playing Obama becoming president, I think would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would have been great.
And like, especially like I'm just thinking now because like, you know, they have the ideas that like Obama was actually pro-gay marriage the whole time. He was just trying to like play it to a more conservative base.
Right, he had to, yeah.
Yeah, much like how Lincoln was arguably always against slavery, but like he had to pretend he was like, I'm not opposed to it. You know, just to help play to again a more conservative base.
This is politics.
Yeah, it's politics. I would have loved to see a scene where like he's looking at what he has to do to present himself different than who he is.
Right. Oh my goodness, that would have been awesome.
And like, well, we picked Obama as the example there. I mean, like that just like that scene in general seems like an actor's dream, and I think Boseman would have pulled it the hell off.
Oh, very much so. Like there's
whether he's playing Obama or someone else.
No, no question. Like he would have the chops no matter what. And just like I was talking about with Get On Up and him just kind of embracing and throwing himself into the role. Like, I would love to see him as Barack Obama because I think he would have thrown himself into the role so well. And as we saw, like, with T'Challa, just that quiet, almost royal essence about him is just something that you cannot teach when you carry yourself. And, like, he had it in spades. And it would have worked so well as Obama.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. It was a bit of a different one, but I think it was for pretty obvious reasons. I hope people can appreciate it.
We had to. Like Peter hit me up on it the day after, and said, "Do you want to do a Chadwick tribute episode?" I said, "Yes, of course," because like when we both saw it, like it both shook us. It was both shocking, but there's so much to celebrate about his career, and as we've seen, like I said once again, from the various people that knew him. Outside of just being an actor, like there's so much to celebrate about his life that it is amazing to think that even though he was only 43 years old, even though he was incredibly young, because you think about it, I know we both have thought about it, you know, when you're young, 43 sounds like it's so far away, and it's really not.
It's really not, man.
I know, it's really not.
We're uncomfortably close to that. Oh, man.
To think that, you know, someone did so much in their lives that will reverberate for years, decades to come, is a testament to just how good of a person he really was and just how great of an actor he really was.
Yeah, I mean, what else can we say at this point but rest in peace, King, Wakanda forever, and, you know, much like Marvel, what if, man? Just what if? Gone but never forgotten. Alright, till next time, folks.